So my name is Benjamin. I've tried to do this on Instagram a couple of times, but uh, somebody said do YouTube, so I'm about to do this on YouTube. These videos are just kind of like a freestyle. It's no rhyme. There's no reason to it. Just kind of want to get a few things off my chest, and here it goes. So I started a project called the People's Assembly a few years ago. The purpose of the project was to create a platform for individuals to really network, build, create an economy, and really just change the world. We live in a world that has been corrupted by our own selfish greed, and that's the best way I can really put that. And the People's Assembly was a very polite way to say, hey, here are the issues. Let's look at ourselves and let's begin to create change within ourselves, and let's kind of come together, hold hands, sing Kumbaya. But I kind of kept running into issues getting that off the ground, mainly just the problems that our own selfish ways, I'll say that. And I'm including, when I say our, I'm including myself in it. So I kept running into issues with that, and so I'm have to approach it just a little bit more authentically, I'll say that. The reason why I started the People's Assembly is because Trayvon Martin was hunted and killed. He's a teenager. No person should be hunted and killed, especially a kid. And because black men are have been hunted and have been a target of American society since almost its inception, and it has been criminal, and it really is still criminal to be a black male in society. And if that's not the lowest station in society, I really don't know what is. And so I've spent a good deal of my life really attempting to be a part of the change, trying to change that within the system, right, within the lines, creating not-for-profits, creating organizations, working within organizations, you name it. But it just never really seemed to be enough, and the needle never seemed to move. The attitudes never seemed to change, and when they did change, I began to see the ugly underbelly of the other side of things. Meaning, once people began to really get just around and on board in terms of what the change needs, the people that were gathering around, I began to see that they were gathering around for their own and selfish intent motives, and weren't really there to create lasting change for everybody. But it was more so me, myself, and I. And so I kind of got really disheartened because I'm here for justice, right? I'm here to create a peaceful place for the next generation. I'm here so that things like Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, and the list goes on, don't happen again. They're tragedies. They should never happen. And they aren't the only things that they aren't the only tragedies that happen in society. As a matter of fact, our society is full of tragic happenings. And when I began to kind of get closer to just the inner circle of attempting to change, I realized that a lot of people aren't really at the table for the right reasons. And when I say the right reasons, I mean justice. I mean to create the type of change that would prevent this from happening again to anybody, regardless their race, color, their religion, their sexual preference, their orientation, whatever it is. And it don't have to be lynched in society, whether physically, verbally, emotionally, or suppressed, or any of that stuff. And so when I got closer and I realized that like that was the environment, I found myself having to step away. But it was for the intent to come back with a renewed sense of self, me having to purge my own issues out of my own selfish ways and issues out of my life, but then also with a remedy, with a solution. And so I did, and I came back. But when I came back, I kind of got robbed, I suppose, of like my ideas and intent. And I found myself back in a place of being really disheartened and feeling really jaded by society and within society, and it happened in a way that like almost made me just really just say forget it. And so yeah, but the whole experience just really brought me to a place of a renewed sense of self, a renewed confidence in the Creator, and a new found sense of faith and belief in the Creator. And so I want to kind of take that as the first take. One of the issues that I ran up against was religion. And so I'm going to take it from the Black perspective of religion. Anybody that knows anything about like religion in America, specifically Christianity, you know that our religion was founded. It's founded as by Roman Catholicism. At the bedrock of Christianity is Roman Catholicism. As a matter of fact, when Jesus left in the Bible, when Jesus left the keys to his church to Peter, what he really did was left it to the Roman Catholic Church. And I'll let y'all unpack that much later. But through the years, what happened as a result of the Roman Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church perverted the teachings of Jesus and created an institution which sought to seek power and dominion over the earth through the controlling of the mind of people and the will of people. Carter G. Woodson said, when you control a man's thinking, you don't have to tell him to come to the back door. As a matter of fact, if there's no back door, he'll make one for himself. And so what the Roman Catholic Church did was created a systematic way of belief that subjugated people through their own willful intent. And so what I mean by that is that they created a system which made God an external being. It made God somebody that was distant and disconnected from everybody. This deity way up in the sky that looked down on men. it gave God characteristics that are not God at all. It made God a vengeful God. It made God a wrathful God. It made God a judger. It created a heaven and it created a hell. And when I say created, I mean it perverted the sense of heaven and hell, and even the teachings. And so I'll give you an example. The tree of life, the story of Adam and Eve walking in the garden, really speaks, and it really speaks to the mindset. Heaven or hell can happen. Heaven or hell can happen from moment to moment. You could be heaven in one moment, you can be in hell the next. You can be in hell in one moment, you can be heaven the next. It all depends on the energy in which you emit yourself. You vibrate from within out. But what Roman Catholicism did was disconnected that sense of that knowledge, that sense of within man, of not of man, not mankind. When I say man, I mean humanity. Not understanding that wavelength of energy coming from within out, and disconnected ourselves from our power base, our ability to create reality and create life from our deep soul sense of creativity, from the God essence that resides within. And so fast forward to today, and through slavery, through slavery, being force-fed a religion that did just that subjugated men, and then outlawing spiritual practices that connected and put us in tune to our God essence. What happened was the black community, and I'm speaking specifically to the black community. This happened throughout the world. You'll see missionaries going, Roman Catholic missionaries going throughout the world, even till today. And you'll see Roman Catholicism branch off into these different sects of Christianity, but the ideology is substantially the same. And so it's inherited from Judaism and many other major religions. And so anyway, and so fast forward today, we have a black community that has been enslaved, slavery that have been enslaved mentally. Slavery could very well have been abolished in 1865, I believe, or whatever the year was. I don't really recall. It could be, and it could be abolished because it wasn't needed. You didn't need to physically enslave people anymore when you had a deep sense of Roman Catholicism embedded and planted in the minds of men and women. And that was the rule in which people were laid down. and so you have a guidebook that is highly coded and highly deceitful in a way in which it's delivered, being given to people in order to trap them in their way of thought. And the truth being hidden and being demonized and being tabooed, in the sense that if you even speak on it, you're kind of ostracized and called the devil. And that's something I actually kind of went through personally in my own life, and still am fighting. I still have been fighting against. There's this book called Conversation with God that kind of helped me answer a lot of outstanding questions. There's a few books. There are a few books. And so one of them is Emerald Tablets. The writer of the book is called Thoth. The Greeks call him Hermes Trismegistus the Third. The religious scholars debate about who he is, depending on what religion you're a part of. In Christianity, he's called Enoch. In Islam, he's called Idris. And I can't remember what else he's called in different, but he's basically the father of religion, or father of philosophy. I'm not going to say religion, father of philosophy. His definition of religion is spirituality, true spirituality, leading and living a life in the essence and in tune with God, achieving or attempting to achieve and attain just oneness with the Creator. And that's how he defined religion, or philosophy. And one of the things that he mentioned, and so let me back up. Thoth is credited for being the builder of the pyramids in Giza, and he's the person that, and backing up even further, he he actually came to Egypt and taught the Egyptians everything that they knew. He came from Atlantis, and that's the story how it goes. And I know it sounds fanciful, because Atlantis is, and you hear Atlantis in fairy tales. There's even a cartoon about Atlantis. There's a series about Atlantis, a sci-fi series. A lot of fanciful ideas around it. And so he actually Atlantis fell, and he actually went to Egypt and taught and trained the Egyptians everything that they knew. And he was said to be deathless, and he said his body would be renewed his spirit will be renewed from body to body. And what eventually happened is, after he really built up Egypt, the Egyptians began to turn on him. And he actually said that he actually prophesied that clever individuals would eventually one day pervert his teachings, and with the attempt to subjugate mankind, subjugate humanity. And his prophecy has come true, as we see today. And so, but I remember mentioning it to a friend of mine, and he said, Baphomet, that's the devil. And the concept of the devil is false. The devil doesn't exist. And even to consider the devil was created by these individuals that created modern day religion. But even if you consider the concept of a devil, entity that has equal or opposite power than God, then you would have to consider, like, and that's basically the definition. That's what the devil is. It was this comedian said, "Oh, the devil made me do it." Anybody that has sway and power over humanity is a god, right? That has equal standing to God. And so the only entities that have been given power and authority in this domain, with the exception of God, is humanity. So if anybody is the devil, if anybody could be the devil, it would be humankind, humanity. And we have been. If we look at the conditions of Earth, if we look at just the conditions of humanity, if we look at how we treat each other, the actual advent of death was created by humans. Like, death doesn't exist, and it's an illusion. It's our highest fear. That's what death is. But all this stuff was created by us, and we have to pierce through this illusion. The Mayans had this term. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Freudian slip. The ancient Indians had this, and when I say Indians, I mean in India, had this term called Maya, which means an illusion, something that appears real but isn't true. And death could be considered that an illusion. And if you don't understand my meaning about how death isn't real, just remember that famous scientist that said energy isn't created nor destroyed, it's just transferred. And so when you think about death, the stopping of life, that's an illusion. Life continues. We're on a continuous spectrum. Like, when you look at leaves, where do leaves go? They go into the ground only to be renewed back onto the tree. Where do bodies decay? They decay into the ground only to bring forth more life. Where do spirits go? What is a soul? You see what I'm saying? Like, our bodies and death only exists because we've created conditions which creates things like stress, things like fear, things that diminish the quality of life, and as a result diminishes the longevity of it. The moral of the story of Adam and Eve, when Adam bit of the fruit, and God said, basically, let's hide this knowledge before mankind in our own ignorance reaches out and lives forever in our own ignorance. The moral of that story is just that. Like, we had to go through this whole period of time of just remembering who we are before we can kind of get back to the knowledge of God and live as gods in our rightful place. So yeah, I guess that's good enough for like this first one. That's like 30 minutes. Somebody said my first stream was like mad long, so people get bored. So yeah, peace.